Hello, I'm Janna, and welcome back to the Crafty Corner. This week over at the Funky Junky Inspiration Avenue, we're creating to the theme of Stencil Sensation. As you know, Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous recently released a fantastic line of new stencils, so of course, we're going to be having a good play with them today. Today is going to be primarily focused on stencil techniques. If you'd like to see exactly which supplies I'm going to be using, go ahead and pause here. All right, let's head over to the Crafty Corner. Today is all about stencils, and I just had to include this shot of all of the supplies set up and ready for some stencil play. Over here, we're going to be doing a technique with sparkle texture paste and some distress inks. We're going to be playing with some crackle through a stencil along with some distress sprays. We're going to be doing some masking with a stencil and stamp and more distress sprays. We'll be doing a little bit of glazing. We're going to play with some alcohol inks. Of course, we've got some distress pearlescent crayons, and we'll be taking a look at some translucent texture paste as well. Okay, let's go ahead and clear our table and dive right into our first technique. For our first technique, we're going to be creating with the stencil THS 181, and this is from this year's 2024 Tim Holtz Stampers Anonymous release. So we're going to be using this stencil, and we're going to be pulling in some distress mixed media cardstock for our base. And I also want to use some grip. That is going to keep things from sliding around too much on me. Okay, so I'm going to take that, I'm going to place this here, and I want to do a full over repeating pattern. Okay, now I do want a little bit of washi tape to hold my stencil in place, and we'll be good to go. Okay, and the media that we're going to be using today is going to be distress crayons for our first technique. So we're going to be using Harvest Moon, Sugary Gumdrop, and Wonderland. These are distress pearlescent crayons, sometimes called distress mica crayons, and they are gorgeous. They are from the Tim Holtz Holiday Ranger release. So what we're going to do is we're going to be smushing the crayon right through the stencil, and I'm going to be using my fingers to blend things out. And then we'll be able to shift the stencil and add more of the color. All right, I think I'll start with the lightest color first. That would be the Harvest Moon. So just going to scribble that on here. I'm going to be pretty haphazard. This isn't going to really have any rhyme or reason or pattern. We just want to get color onto here. So I'm just holding the stencil down and with a finger just trying to smush that beautiful color through the stencil. There we go. And this is going to add a nice little shimmer to this background. That's going to be fantastic. We could use a dome foam or a blending brush for this, but I like using my finger because it's easier to get into the smaller areas and the little details of the stencil. There we go. And a little bit more over here. Just keep pressing that in. Very good. That is going to turn out really nicely. I need a little bit more color here. There. Just keep pushing that right through. All right, I'm happy with that. So next I want to go in with some of the Sugary Gumdrop. We'll just add some here and there. That's another really pretty color. I like it. There are so many wonderful colors to play with. Okay, and again I'll just take my finger and smush that around. Now if your finger becomes too discolored or has contrasting colors that you don't want to mix together, just wipe your fingers off on a wet paper towel or cloth, and that will take care of any transfer of potential residue. But since we're going from a lighter color to a darker color, I'm not worried about anything mixing in a way that it shouldn't. This is going to play nicely. All right. Now I'm ready for the next color. We've got Wonderland next. We'll just fill in the blanks of the spots that I didn't already add color to. There we go. Give that a little twist, more color. Very good. And again, my fingers aren't too bad, so I don't really need to wipe them off yet. But after the blue, I'll definitely need to before we go to the next section of the stencil. So again, just rubbing that around and pushing that beautiful shimmery crayon into all the little spots on here. Okay, getting there. We're definitely more than halfway done with the entire background. And this is going to look so, so good once it's all blended out. A little bit more here. There we go. Okay, I think we're good. Should be anyway. I'm just going to lift one corner and see how we did. Yep, not bad. So we're just going to take our stencil and move it over a bit. But before, I do want to give it a quick cleanse. That way I don't have any colors in places I don't want it to. So just a little spritz of water, cloth, very easy to clean. All right, and let's line this up and continue. So right about here, that should be good. Okay, so let's go ahead, we'll go in with more of that beautiful Harvest Moon. Okay, a little bit here, good. Should be done with Harvest Moon. Let's go ahead, smudge that out. And I did clean my fingers off in between because I was going from a darker color to a lighter color. All right, now let's go in with the gumdrop. Okay. Okay, there we go. Getting a nice blend. Just nice and easy, moving the color around. Okay. I think we're good. Now let's go back for some of that Wonderland. Now I love crafting like this. This doesn't take a whole lot of thought. Just pick some favorite color combos and off you go to create fun, easy backdrops. This is really good like when you're really tired and just need something chill to do that doesn't require too much forethought. I love doing these things like after work when I just need a break. Okay. Good. I'm very happy with that. So I'm just going to lift, and here we are. We've got a lovely mica crayon background. So we're just going to set that one aside and call this one done. So that would be our first technique. Now we're just going to give our surface a little bit of a clean. I'm going to leave the media grip down. This is going to be helpful for all of our techniques today. And again, stencil needs a little bit of a cleanse, spritz, and wipe. I do love easy cleanup. It makes things so much easier when you are creating. For our next technique, we are going to be playing with distress inks. And we have got picked raspberry, mustard seed, and mermaid lagoon. We're going to be doing some ink blending, and then we'll be pulling in some of the Distress Sparkle texture paste to add a bit of shine to our background. So let's grab our substrate. We're going to be using some distressed white heavy stock. We've got our stencil, and we're just going to put that right over the top and ink through it. Now for inking this time, I'm going to be using some of the tiny blending tools. Oh wait, these are the minis. These are super cool. And they're going to be getting into all those little spots, and it's going to be so much easier to blend things out. All right, now I just want my washi tape. We'll stick the other part of the stencil down, and we're good to go. Again, I'll need to do a little shift in order to get a full background. So let's go ahead. We'll start off with mustard seed as our lightest color. Just take this mini blending tool. Oh, I love these. These are fantastic. All right. And we'll just start blending things down. Okay. This is going to look good. I can't wait to add the sparkle to this. So a little bit more there. Yeah, I think that's good. Now let's go for the picked raspberry. Okay, we've got that. And we'll just start blending. So let's work down to this corner too. There we go. If we overlap a bit, that's going to work out nicely. Then we're going to get a bit of a rainbow gradient, which will be quite lovely. All right. Yeah, very happy with this. Getting a nice blend, lots of color. All right, time for some Mermaid Lagoon. So we'll just take that and add that right in. Yep. Very, very pretty. A little bit in the top corner. There we go. Got a little bit over here. Good. And a bit right there. Okay. Definitely happy with that. Now, when I go through with the sparkle, I can't really shift the stencil because it's going to potentially smudge. So maybe we're just going to do this much, and I can always decorate the other part of the card with something else later on. Let's do that. Okay, so our inking is done. The next thing that we're going to do will be to use the sparkle paste. Now with this, I need to be pretty delicate. I don't want to smudge anything. I don't want to smear anything. We just want to add the layer of sparkle over the top. So let's try to go fairly thin with this. I'm using one of the Ranger palette knives, and I'm going to use that to spread this on our background. So I'm going to try to go with the grain of the stencil. And I don't want to go over the area too many times. I just want to press it down once and move on. There we go. Okay, a little bit more. So far so good. Just trying to get this down, not smush anything out of place. Good. Some stencils I like to play a bit with and try to get the best possible coverage, but for this one I just want to get it down and not smush my ink. All right, I think we're good. I'm definitely gonna have to cover that up. I just made a mess of the edge, but that's okay. I can easily decorate that with something interesting. All right, so we're gonna have to wait for this to dry in order to get a really good look at it, but for the moment, let's go ahead and lift our stencil up, and hopefully we didn't get any odd bleed through or anything. Okay, just have a little spot there. Okay, let's lift. Perfect. I'm very happy. So I'm gonna go clean that stencil right away along with the palette knife to make sure that nothing gets stuck. And we want to keep that stencil nice and clean. Okay. So this is what we have. We're going to need to wait a bit for it to dry. I'm estimating anywhere between 20 to 45 minutes for this to dry clear, but we'll come back later and take a closer look. Next, we're going to be working with some Distress Crackle Paste Translucent. This is going to be fun because we're going to be adding some texture to a stencil. So we're going to be using some Distress watercolor cardstock as our substrate. And because this is clear, I'd rather put that over the top of a finished background than before. So what we're going to do is create a quick background. We're just going to spritz and spray. This is going to be pretty. I'm kind of going for something grungy, and after the paste dries, we will go back and highlight some of the crackly goodness with a Distress crayon. Okay, so this is pretty good. Let's go ahead and put this on fast forward as I finish up. Okay, here is our finished background, and this was done on Distress watercolor cardstock. For sprays, we used a combination of brushed corduroy, salvage patina, and a speckled egg. I am super happy with the way this has come out, and I like the colors and the Distress look that we have going. Now to add some texture to this. So we're going to need our translucent crackle paste, and we're going to take a bit of that and spread it to the stencil. Now, I don't want to do a full coverage of the page. We're going to be working in small sections all around. Small change of plans. So I was going to be using Crackle Paste Translucent, but apparently I didn't close the jar all the way last time, and that has solidified on me. So we're going to have to toss that and change ideas. Not a big deal because we have translucent crackle paint. So we're going to use that instead. That is the joy of crafting. Sometimes plan A doesn't quite work out, so just move on and go to plan B, because maybe plan B will be even cooler than what plan A originally was intended to. All right, there we go. We've got crackle paint. That's got some movement. Very good. Take that, and we're just going to run that through right here. Okay, and we're going to move the stencil over, and I want to move some right down here. Okay, now the crackle paint is interesting. It's kind of got the consistency of maple syrup, so we don't want to put too much through the stencil, otherwise we'll get some not so fun ooze in places. And we don't want to spread it on too thick because it will do odd things. Like I kind of missed a spot here and it's going to congeal a bit more than I wanted to, but other sections have retained their shapes beautifully. So every medium, different things, different properties, and we just try to work with them the best that we can to bring out the best possible results. So let's set this aside to dry and move on to our next technique. So all the techniques that I am working on today are ones that I've had the opportunity to learn about through many of the Tim Holtz live sessions. I love those. So much fun. What I'm doing today is creating with these techniques and using color combinations and different product combos that suit my mood today. And today we're going to have all sorts of crafty fun making many, many more backdrops. Okay, next technique. The next technique that we're going to be working with is going to be using translucent texture paste. This is going to add some texture with stencils onto another background. And again, I've got to give my work surface a little bit of a quick clean. I'm just going to take that Move that, and I will need to clean up the stencil that we just used, but let's get set up right now. So again, we're going to be doing another distressed background, and for colors, we're going to be using Distress Oxide, Twisted Citron, Distress Oxide, Brushed Corduroy, and Distress Spray Stain Vintage Photo. And for this stencil, we're going to be using a mini stencil. This is THMS 59. Okay, let's go ahead and start making our background. So first we're just going to go in and spritz with some water. And we're going to start off with a dash of Vintage Photo. And let's go in with some of the Brushed Corduroy Oxide. And now a dash of the Twisted Citron. This will give it a nice bright punch of color. Okay, so we're just going to get this to move around a little bit and see what we get. All right, let's go ahead, put this on fast forward as we dry and splatter. All right, we have a nice grungy background. So now let's go ahead and add some of the translucent texture paste. Now I'm thinking with the texture paste, I do want to add a splash of color over the top. I am going to be adding a glaze in addition to the texture paste. And I think we're going to use some cracked pistachio. That should be a good color. Oh, you know what? Salvage patina will work beautifully. Let's do that. Okay, so we're going to need a palette knife. All right, there we go. So let's go ahead and we'll take this. And again, I think we're just going to be a little bit haphazard. Okay, that's good. Let's go ahead, we'll add a little bit more over here. Okay, I think I'm pretty good with that. So I'm just going to quickly clean this up right here. So we're going to need some scrap paper to sprinkle the distressed glaze over the top of the texture paste. In the meantime, let's just make sure we cover our container. Push the press and seal right down so that nothing's going to dry out, and carefully put that lid back on. All right, that's good. Wipe off the palette knife. Okay, we've got our scrap paper, and we've got our glaze. Let's go ahead and just sprinkle that right on. That should be really pretty. Ooh. Yep, I'm definitely gonna like that. Okay, so we have that. That is all ready. I'm gonna just set that aside, and that is gonna make a really fun background to play with later on. All right, now we're just going to take this and we'll dump that right back into the jar. Nice and easy. Okay. That is good. Now I do want to do a quick little cleanup on the stencil. I'm just going to spritz that. I'm going to wipe that off with the paper. Let's go ahead and just wipe that off. There, clean as you go. That way there isn't a massive cleanup at the end of a project. Okay, set that aside. Now we're going to be doing a bit of stamping with masking through a stencil. So Here we have a stencil THS 178. We've got our substrate. This is some mixed media. And we're going to take this and put that right here, and I'll put some washi tape there just to hold that in place. This is one of my favorite stamp sets from Stampers Anonymous and Tim Holtz. This is CMS 241 Ledger Script, and I love this text. It is really, really good. So let's see here. What do I want to do? Yeah, I think we're going to use this. That's going to be perfect, and we're going to stamp right through. All right, this stamp recently got a little bit mangled. It got squished somewhere, so just straighten that back out. Good. Now I'm going to need some Distress Archival black soot. Take that, and we're going to ink this up. So we're just going to make sure we've got plenty of ink on here, and then we're going to stamp through the stencil. Okay, that should be pretty good. Let's go ahead and stamp this down. I'm just going to flip that over, and we're going to stamp right through the stencil. Because I'm stamping on a kind of uneven surface, that's why I'm stamping with my hands instead of using a stamping block. All right, looks like we did pretty good. Let's lift. Very interesting. So that came out pretty good, but I do want to ink that just a bit. Let's see. What are we going to do? I think we'll go with a little bit of brown and just see how that looks. And then I'm going to alter that a bit more with some other inks. But I just want to grunge this up a little bit so that we have a definite idea of where the text is. There we go. There, that's what I was looking for. Okay. Good. Now I want to add something else over the top. What do I got that would work? I think maybe something really, really light. I want a pale blue of some sort. Oh, you know what? I want speckled egg. Speckled egg would be good to go over the top. So we're just going to spritz a bit of speckled egg. And I'm going to do a little bit more blending to make this look a little bit more natural. Okay, so we're going to just put this on mute while I do a little bit with the Ranger Heat tool. Okay, so I do want to add a little bit more to this. I really want to make those kind of cobblestone pieces pop just a little bit more. So we're going to put the stencil back down. Just line that up right here. And I'm going to go back in with just a little bit more ink to darken up those areas. And then I want to highlight that even more with some of the translucent texture paste. Okay, good. So we've got that, we've got our texture paste. Let's go ahead and alter that. So we're just going to hold that down and scrape that on. And I don't think I want it to be perfect. I want it to be a little bit splotchy. Let's see how that goes. yeah, I like that. It's not quite perfect, but it's definitely there. Okay. Yeah, that's good. So we'll go ahead and let this one dry as well. Carefully peel that up. Ooh, I think that's going to come out pretty nice. I like that. All right, and I'll set this one aside to dry as well. And now some quick cleanup. Let's spritz the stencil. Get my cloth. Wipe that down. There, nice and easy. Lift, wipe, and we get the back. Okay, very good. And quick cleansing of the little palette knife. So next we're going to be jumping into Distress Glaze. And we're going to be using a larger piece of Distress White Heavy Stock. I'm going to be using the mini stencil THMS 059. So we're going to take this, I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to go in with the embossing ink dabber. Oh, let's see, I think I do want to stick that down with a bit of tape. I don't want this to wobble at all. Let's take that, put that here. Good. So we're going to go in with a dabber, and we're going to try to be as thorough as we can and get down enough embossing ink so that we can add some distress glaze and create a grungy style color wheel. So I've already got a bunch of glazes set aside that we're going to be using right now. I just need to push that embossing ink through the stencil. This takes a little bit of time, a little bit of patience, but it will work out. Okay. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm double checking that I'm getting ink on here by tilting my head to the side and making sure that I can see a shine where I have put down the ink. If there's a shine, that means I've got ink. If there's no shine, it means I need to add a little bit more. Okay. So that looks pretty good. Now I do want to complete the circle, so we're going to take this, going to lift that up, and we're going to move that so that we can complete the circle. Okay, that's going to go right here. And we're just going to finish that up. So again, I'm just pushing and squishing that down, trying to move relatively quickly because I want to get onto the glazing portion of this, and that's going to be fun. Now, when glazing, I'm not trying to be perfectly perfect, but I do want to have kind of a gradient going of all the colors that we've pre-selected. So this is going to be fun. All right. I think we're just about good. Just making sure that I've got all those spaces covered. Okay, I'm happy with that. So we're going to just lift that up. Excellent. And I've got my scrap paper. We'll just stick that right under here. And now we're going to add the glaze. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There are approximately 11 sections. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, I might need an extra bit of glaze. 9, 10. Oh, what else do I have? Oh, there we go. 11. Perfect. All right. Now I've got 11 different glazes. So let's just see how this goes. I'm going to start with some picked raspberry. And we'll start right here. Now, if it overlaps in places, that is totally okay. The main thing is we just want to get some good coverage. And this is definitely going to end up as a party mix, and I will not be able to save it. But that's okay. I was going in expecting that. So we're just going to do some pinch and twist. Next, we've got some lumberjack plaid. I'll take that, add that on here. I love this red. It's so, so vibrant. All the colors here are really good, so this will be fun. Okay, just pinch and twist. Good. Next, we're going to be moving on to some spiced marmalade. Get that, pinch and twist. Okay, good. I already like this and it hasn't even been embossed yet. Good. Next, we've got some fossilized amber. All right, let's take that and keep working our way around. Ooh, that one's pretty full. All right, fossilized amber's going down. Definitely got a little bit of an overlap going on here. I hope that shows up as a gradient. I'm really hopeful. Good. Next, we're going to have some squeezed lemonade. Okay, let's take that squeezed lemonade, give a good pinch, and add that on here. Good. Squeezed lemonade is definitely one of my favorite colors of the glazes. It's really, really vibrant. I love it. Okay, very good. Then we're going to go on with some twisted citron. Oh, just need to get that lid back. All right, twisted citron is next. There we go. Let's make sure we're still very much in the screen. Good. All right, twisted citron's going down. So vibrant. It's like a really nice new leaf green. Definitely making me think springtime. Okay. After that, we've got some mowed lawn. Let's take that and sprinkle. A little bit more. There we go. Then we've got some salvaged patina. Almost there. We're halfway done. All right, salvaged patina going down. Good. All right. And then we have got some Mermaid Lagoon. That's another favorite color. Such a pretty color. Very vibrant. And I do love anything in blue. Okay, a little bit more. Excellent. Now let's go for some wilted violet. Okay, that'll work. Very, very nice. Ooh, did I not count this quite right? I'm going to need another color in just a moment. All right, let's go for some Villainous Potion. And then I think we'll finish off with some Kitsch Flamingo. That'll work out quite nicely. All right, Kitsch Flamingo, the last color. I don't know how I missed that. There's 12 sections, not 11. But that's okay. We've got some beautiful Kitsch Flamingo to finish off this color wheel. Excellent. Okay, I like this just as it is. It's pretty fun. But now we get to see the reveal as we shake all the extra off. I'm just going to tap it a little that way, tap it a little this way, and okay. All right. We don't have perfect coverage, but I really like this because this is going to give me the grungy look that I was going for. All right, I just need to get rid of that extra embossing powder. That's just going to get tossed. That is a complete party mix. I am not saving it. All right, let's put this on fast forward as we emboss this. And here is our embossed color wheel. I love that it got distressed as the powder was coming off. So I do want to finish this up with a bit of distress ink. We've got some vintage photo, and I just wanted to make the rest of this nice and grungy. And then I'm going to cut this out. So just using that ink, we're going to go all around this and ink that up. There we go. That is making me really, really happy. I love this. That looks so, so good. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. let's go ahead and cut this out. This will be a fun element to use in an art journal, I think. All right, I've got a good scrap piece for a later time. Now let's just work our way around. So I'm just going to carefully work my way around the edges and go from there. Okay. Ooh, I might even distress this a little bit more with the paper distresser. That could look really cool. It could be a little rough. I like that. Okay, good. Now I think I do want to grab the paper distresser. Let's see, where is that? Okay, we'll just work our way around the edge. And I'll go back with the blending tool in a moment. Just want to chew this up a bit. Okay. Not bad. So let's go ahead and read the edges of that. There we go. So I'm just going around the edge with some more vintage photo. And there. We've got a distressed color wheel. I like that quite a bit. It's very grungy, lots of color, and you know what? I want just a little bit of distressed crayon as well. Why not? We can grunge it up even more. So, a little bit of water. There. A little bit of distressed crayon. And the distressed crayon that I have in my hand is the walnut stain. Ooh, I like that. That's adding texture in there. That's fun. Yeah. Cool. Okay, now that is really grungy. I like it. Okay, so we'll set that aside. And now we're going to move on to our final stenciling technique. And this one is one that features alcohol ink. So I'm just going to clear the deck a little bit, give myself some space, and we'll bring in the next stencil. So for our substrate, we're going to be using some Yupo paper. And for the stencil, we have THS 180. So we're just going to put our stencil right on here, and then we're going to be dripping some alcohol ink directly onto this. For colors today, we've got Glacier, Laguna, Turquoise, and Clover. I'm going to start with Clover, I think. And we're just going to do a little drip here and there. Let's go in with the Glacier next. This is really, really random. And this is the fun part about this technique. You get really cool looks with this. All right, and now some Laguna. Now this one's going to take a little bit of time to dry, but not a problem. I'm estimating that this could take potentially 30-ish minutes to dry. But it's well worth it. The technique is really fun, and we'll get some interesting things at the end. Okay. So just like that, nothing else. We're going to let that dry, and we'll come back later and see what we have. In the meantime, let's take a look at our other stenciled items and see how they turned out. Okay, first we have the sparkle that we did earlier over Distress inks, and look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. It's rainbow goodness with added sparkle. And it's got texture, which is really, really nice. So that is super cool. All right, and then we have the background with Distress sprays and oxides, and this is with Crackle paint. Now this one isn't done. We need to do a little bit more to this and add some Distress crayon, because otherwise that wonderful Crackle isn't going to show up too well. So I'm going to scribble some walnut stain crayon off to the side. I'll give that a little spritz, and then I'm going to be going in with the Distress brush. This is going to work very nicely and get a bit of the crayon into those little fissures. So just want to make sure we've got plenty of crayon down, and then we'll pick it up with the blending brush. Okay, take that. We're just going to smush that right into the crackles. Okay, I might need to go in with my finger as well. Was working pretty good, but you know what? I want even more noticeability on those crackly bits, because that is the best part of the stencil technique. Okay. All right, I'm just going to push that on my finger. Let's see what we can get. Ooh, that's already starting to pop. That is making me very, very happy. I do love a good crackle. That is getting some nice grungy goodness. Okay, and we'll go over here. Let's see what we can do. There. Swishing that right in. Okay, let's take a closer look. And yeah, now we can see the crackle. The Distress crayon really helps make it more noticeable. I like that quite a bit. So that would be another one of our completed backgrounds. Then we have got this one. This was with some of the clear texture paste, and we added some Distress glaze on the top. So what we're going to do is hit this with the embossing heat gun, and then we'll have a added layer of color over the top. Be back in just a moment after we've embossed. Here is the background with the texture paste translucent. I love how we have that little see-through sections, and it's really neat just seeing all of the distress through that, and I'm really happy that we picked Salvage Patina to go over the top. Definitely a good grungy contrast. Okay, well, let's see how our other backgrounds are doing. Oh, let's check on another background. So this is the alcohol inked background, and let's just peel that stencil off, and ooh, that is very interesting. I love how we got the stencil bits, and then we have some random pieces around here. That is really awesome. Now, one thing that we can do is we have got all this wonderful alcohol ink still on the stencil. Now, what we can do is spritz this with some rubbing alcohol, and then we can stamp that onto another piece of Yupo. So we're going to need some isopropyl alcohol, and then we'll be able to transfer this from here to there. So we've got some isopropyl alcohol right here. I'm just going to give a few very generous spritzes to the stencil, and we'll be able to put that right onto my other piece of Yupo paper. Okay, got that. Let's take this and stick that down. Now I'm just going to place a cloth over the top and just dab that a little bit. Okay. Now we'll lift that up and see how that transfer went. Just going to push that down, make sure that everything is where it should be. That should be good. There was lots of ink on here, so we should get a really nice impression. Okay, and let's lift. Ooh, and that is awesome. I love that. That will make a really cool ocean type background. That is really fun. All right, so we'll just set that aside, and we got 2 backgrounds with 1 stencil. Okay, now let's take a look at the translucent background with the Distress texture paste. So it's nice and shiny now, it's all dry. You can see the stamping that we did through there, and that is quite lovely. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick little bit of cleanup, and then we'll do a recap of all the fun things that we just did. So let's take that, wipe it off. Okay, and this side. Good. So today we have been playing with stencils, and we got to work with 7 different techniques for stenciling. What we have done has included everything from distress crayons all the way over to alcohol inks. So the first technique that we worked on was with stenciling and distress crayons, where we smooshed some distress mica pearlescent crayons through a stencil to get this lovely background. Then we dove into the world of rainbows and sparkles with some ink blending and the Ranger Distress Sparkle texture paste. That is absolutely magical, and I love how we've added some shine and glitter to this background. Then we went on to the grungy side of things and created this background with some Distress Paint Crackle. As you can see, we've got some fantastic crackle going on here that was stenciled through one of the lettering stencils. And then we grunged it up a bit with some Distress Crayon Walnut Stain to highlight that wonderful crackle goodness. After that, we moved on to some clear texture paste and a bit of distress glaze. Here we have some lovely layers between some oxide sprays and the texture paste with glaze over the top. Then, continuing on our grungy theme, we did some masked stamping through a stencil, and then we were able to add a layer of translucent texture paste over the top to create this neat kind of cobblestone path-like background. After that, we pulled out more glazes to create a distressed color wheel. And when I say distressed, I mean distressed. This has all sorts of grungy goodness, and I can't wait to create with this in an art journal. And for the final technique, we got 2 backgrounds out of 1 technique. We dripped some alcohol inks through some of the stencils, and take a look. This was the first one. This was dripped directly through the stencil onto some Yupo paper, and then using the leftover ink, we were able to monoprint over the top of some more Yupo paper to get this fantastic background. Thank you so much for joining me here today at the Crafty Corner for Stenciled Fun. I have greatly enjoyed sharing all of these fantastic color combinations and different ways to use your mediums with stencils. I hope that you too have had lots of crafty fun. And until next time, happy crafting!